Hi guys, I'm live. Let me know if you guys can hear this or not. Um, so I just wanted to say that I don't hate whoever it is, Andy Morrison. It's all good. This may be the way that the universe wants me to find out where I came from. And he's actually an agent of change in that way. Thank you, Andy. This is maybe the universe's way of letting me know who my parents were and what the truth is. I appreciate even though your motives are questionable because you seem to want to hurt me. I don't have to take it that way. I can say that I'm glad that you're an agent of knowledge for me. Maybe I'll find out who my parents were, and it'll all be because of you. And do your thing. I mean, I don't hate you back, even if you have malicious thoughts toward me or don't like me or whatever. Um, Whatever, I don't care. It's all good with me. At least I'll find out maybe where I came from, and that'll be because of you, largely, Andy Morrison. So thank you. And no, I don't have to feed a cycle of hate where I hate you and you hate me more and then I hate you more and all that. No, I don't care. I'm good. Thank you very much, Andy. I don't hate you. Welcome seeing you in court, and let's keep it positive, okay? And since I'm here, I thought I would maybe do some reading out of the Committee 300 book. I enjoyed that last time. Um, Kind of random. I'll just read some out of it. Why not, right? I mean, prove I can see and prove I can read, prove I'm literate and prove I have good eyesight. Let's see. The Committee 300 has long ago perfected plans to destabilize civilization as we know it, some of which plans were made known by Polish aristocrat Zbigniew Brzezinski in his classic work Between Ages, the Technotronic Era, and the works of Ariello Pecci, founder of the Club of Rome, more especially in his book, The Chasm Ahead, George Orwell's 1984. Oh, yeah, The Chasm Ahead. George Orwell's 1984, although depicted as fiction, was actually drawn from archives and files kept in secured locations in London. Dr. John Coleman was Committee 3. Well, he was MI6, so he had access to the London Museum, so he could have information to write this book, The Committee 300, like I'm reading here. Let me know if you guys can hear this. In Western Europe, the oligarchy is working toward a federation of states within a one-world government framework within a single with a single currency. We'll have one currency for the whole world. From there, the EU, that's the European Union, system will be transformed bit by bit to the United States and Canada. The United Nations is being slowly but surely transformed into a rubber stamp of the one world government, with policies dictated to the United States to carry out as we saw in the case of the Gulf Wars and the vicious assault on Siberia. In other words, the United Nations is going to be an agent for the one world government. They're going to help the New World Order. The United Nations will. Precisely the same thing is happening with the British Parliament. Discussion on Britain's participation in the Gulf War was kept to a ridiculously low level and blatantly took place only during a motion to adjourn the House. This had never happened before in the history of Parliament, where such an important decision was to be made with little time allowed for discussion. Thus, one of the most noteworthy events in parliamentary history went virtually unnoticed thanks to the cooperation of the news media. We are close to the point where the United States will send its military forces to settle any and all disputes brought before the United Nations. So we'll be the muscle of the New World Order, I have a feeling. Departing Secretary General Perez de Cuellar Scular, something like that, heavily laden with bribe money, was the most compliant UN leader in history in granting demands of the United States without discussion. His carefully chosen successor, Kofi Annan, was even more docile and inclined to go along with whatever the U.S. government places before him. This is an important step along the road to a one world government. He calls it the one world government more than he calls it the New World Order. Technically, one world government's more descriptive. The appointment of an obscure figure from Africa, Kofi Annan, is the fulfillment of the plan to turn the UN into a rubber stamp for the U.S. and Britain. The International Court of Justice at The Hague will be used in increasing measure in the coming years to settle legal arguments of all types. So that'll be the court of the New World Order, eh? It is, of course, the prototype for a one-world government legal system that will supplant all others. As for central banks, essential in the planning of the New World Order, this is already very much a fiat accompli, with the Bank of International Settlements already dominating the scene in the close of 2006. Small private banks are fast disappearing in preparation for the big 10 banks that will control banking the world over under the guidance of BIS and the IMF. IMF is International Monetary Fund. BIS is Bank. BIS. What is Bank BIS? British. I'm not sure. BIS Bank International. I'm not sure. Welfare states already abound in Europe, and the United States is fast becoming the largest welfare state in the world. Once people come to depend on government for their sustenance, it will be very hard to wean them away from it, as we saw in the results of the last 2004 election held in the United States, where 98% of incumbents were returned to Washington to enjoy the good life, notwithstanding their utterly deplorable records and simply on the basis of being perceived as welfare sensitive to the needs of the people who voted for them. So what they're saying is, get us on welfare and we'll do whatever because you give us free money. So, and we don't have to work. So we, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how that works. I'm not, how would that work? Keep us down, keep us from actually making a difference. Don't let us have independence, make us reliant on the government, and then we'll be more susceptible to when the government decides to unite in one world government. We won't say no because we're already benefiting from them or something like that. The abolition of privately owned firearms is already in force in 3/4 of the world. In other words, take our guns away, right? Like Hitler did. Only in the United States can the populace still own guns of all types. But that legal right is being shrunk at an alarming rate through the local and state laws that violate the constitutional right of all citizens to bear arms of any type and any quantity. According to St. George Tucker, a hero of the American Revolution and a professor of law at the old William and Mary College, private gun ownership will be a thing of the past in the United States by the year 2020. This was written in when was this book written? This book was written in 1997 to 2010. So if it's 2010, that's 16 years ago. Education is being eroded at an alarming rate. Private schools are being forced to close by a variety of legal stratagems and lack of funding. The standard of education in the United States has already sunk to a deplorable level. Until today, it can barely be classified as education. This is according to plan, as I described earlier. The one world government does not want our youth to be properly educated because we're docile and uneducated and stupid and easily controlled and whatever. Destruction of national identity proceeds apace. It is no longer a good thing to be a patriotic unless it is in the cause of some one world government war of genocide being waged against a nation that is ostensibly obstinately refusing to give up the right to its natural resources. Take the resources from every country because we own all the countries will be one country. Racial pride is now frowned upon and deemed to be an illegal act in many parts of the world, including the United States. Britain, German, and other EU nations. In Canada and in all countries having the largest concentration of the white race, pride of race is fast becoming a hate crime. Yeah, especially for white people, I guess, right? Because we all want to be one world, right? One world government. We can't all stand apart with our race. We have to say, no, well, race is evil. If I say I'm white and I'm good, then that's bad. I'm the devil. Matters told me about that. He's white and blue-eyed and blonde hair, and he's the devil in a lot of his work environment situations. Led by secret societies in America, destruction of Republican forms of government has proceeded apace since the close of World War II. A list of such governments destroyed by the United States is long, and it is difficult for the informed to accept that a government of a country allegedly wedded to republicanism under a unique constitution would engage in such conduct, but the facts speak for themselves. It is a goal which was set over a century ago by the Committee 300. The United States has led the attack on such governments and countries to do so, even in the United States where its Republican base is being steadily undermined. Starting with the former President Carter's legal counsel, Lloyd Cutler, a committee of constitutional lawyers has been working to change the U.S. Congress into a non-representative parliamentary system. In other words, make us like Britain, right? Work in progress on the 1979 blueprint for such a change has never stopped, and in recognition of his devotion to the cause, Cutler was made a member of the Committee 300. Yay! Rule the world. The final draft for the parliamentary type of government to be presented to the Committee 300 at the end of 2010. In the new parliamentary system, members will not be responsible for their constituents, but to the parliamentary whips, and will vote the way they are told to vote. In fact, this is already a de facto arrangement, which is why majority rule of one party of the House, Senate, and the White House have resulted in rubber stamping decisions made solely by the president, has created a very dangerous situation threatening the future of the Republican government of the 50 states. I think that means that somehow they make it so that the president can do whatever he wants. He can just say, I declare it. Well, that's closer to one world government because he doesn't have to have checks and balances, right? Thus, by judicial and bureaucratic subversion is the Constitution vanishing without much protest, marked by the shackles of the press. Individual liberty is already on a slippery slope. Pre-planned degrading of man through licentious sexual practices will be stepped up as a diversion so that drastic constitutional changes will go unnoticed. Well, I noticed them, and I'm aware. New sexually degenerate cults are even now being set up in the British Crown, working through the Secret Intelligence, SIS, and MI6 services. As we already know, most cults operating in the world today are the product of the British intelligence acting for oligarchic rulers. We may think this phase of creating a whole new cult which specializes in sexual degenerate behavior is still far off, but my information is that it has begun to be stepped up in 2005. By 2050, it will be quite commonplace to have live shows in the I'm not going to I don't feel like reading that. Tavistock Institute of Human Relations is an integral arm of the conspirators' hierarchy of the Committee 300. It is a power structure and a power center that operates far beyond the reach of any single world leader or any single nation, any single or union of governments, including the United States government, as the late John F. Kennedy found out. The committee is the ultimate secret society made up of an untouchable ruling class, which includes the Queen of England, the Queen of the Netherlands, and the Queen of Denmark, and the royal families of Europe. These aristocrats decided at the death of Queen Victoria, the monarch of the Venetian Black Gulf, that in order to gain worldwide control, it would be necessary for its aristocratic members to go into business with the non-aristocratic, but extremely powerful leaders of the corporate business on a global scale. And so the doors to ultimate power were open to what Queen of England likes to refer to as the commoners. From my days in the field, I know that the heads of foreign governments refer to this all-powerful body as the magicians. Stalin coined his own phrase to describe them, the dark forces, and President Eisenhower, who was never able to get beyond the rank of Hofjuden, court Jew, referred to it in a very accurate statement as the military-industrial complex. Stalin kept the USSR heavily armed with conventional and nuclear forces because he did not trust the dark forces. His ingrained mistrust and fear of the Committee 300 proved to be well-founded. So I'm just, we're all headed for, and that's why I like the licentious lifestyle. I like rock and roll. I like the spoils, the good things, the fun things. Is we're gonna have a world, one world government anyway. Might as well enjoy it. That's what I think, and I try to. Rock and roll is part of the what do you call it? The erosion of the old order, where it was all formal and everybody had to worship Queen Victoria with their tuxedos on. And yeah, Committee 300, not such a great idea probably all around, but I enjoy the little, the rock and roll and the music and the fun that we get to have. I'm all for it. So, and this Committee 300 thing is the New World Order is happening. You might as well just decide whether you want to enjoy the ride or not. Anyway, love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.